Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe, from Cape Cod to Cancun, from Vegas to the Vatican. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, your East Coast sports investors, your breakfast bankroll, and your midday market report. Today, we are blessed and honored to have a special guest, a good friend, Andrew McInnis from McInnis Sports Picks from wagertalk.com. Our goal is to talk some Canadian Football League, to give you a weekly preview of up and coming games. We're going to talk about last night's game and hear Andrew's thoughts moving forward. He's got some great insight, very, very knowledgeable, someone that is very successful at this end of the sports world. And without further ado, Andrew McInnis. Andrew, welcome, my friend.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm very good. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
I guess we're going to just very simply start. Last time we talked, you were living the life in Montreal for the Stanley Cup, and we just want to make sure life is back to normal.
Life is back to normal. It was a very, very fun July, but all good things must come to an end. And if coming to an end means getting back to doing what I love to do and handicapping games and talking to people like you, then I'm pretty blessed. So a lot of traveling, still making some trips to the cottage while I can. You know how short these summers are out east. So we got to enjoy the weather while we can. I know you live in the East Coast as well, of course. So while I have the sun and while I have the ability to travel, I'll do that. But CFL is back, and it was great to have last night.
So in a nutshell, just over 600 days off, correct? Because of COVID, there was no CFL last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with that being said, for you getting ready for this type of season and a 2-year layoff, anything that you've had to do to adjust? I mean, in your prep, knowing that these guys have actually had, 2 years off.
Well, it's been a little bit of both. I mean, I've been making sure I check which coaches, have been honest with their reports about their teams. Sometimes you look at NFL teams and college football teams and CFL as well. They're going to just say that training camp has been great. Yeah, everything's going well. They're always positive, but we know we can find some leaks and find some cracks in between the holes. And we found that with a few of the teams. And I think that in general, though, Jeff, when you look at the CFL, there's constant change as far as the roster goes. Some like it, some don't. Some of the diehards would say that it's kind of rough for the league. And some would say, like me, I think sometimes it's good for the league. But you always see receivers, great defensive players, quarterbacks, head coaches get swapped around the league. So whether or not there was 1 year of a hiatus, we're still seeing a couple teams look completely different than they would have anyway. So I've kind of approached it the same way I would have anyway, and just kind of taken a look at the rosters, the coaching staff, the plans they've set, and kind of taken the approach that way, because there's so many different players on each team every year. It hasn't really bugged me as much because it's kind of the same approach.
So the CFL, we have 2 divisions and 5 teams in the West, 4 in the East. If you were to break down, in your eyes, the preseason favorites in the West and the East, anything stand out to you?
Well, of course, we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the defending Grey Cup champions, and they were a team last year, Jeff, where pretty much all season I was cashing plus, tickets with, or taking them as dogs, plus 3.5, getting touchdowns with them anyway. These numbers that they were getting last year, they weren't really being respected in the markets. So they're a team that kind of proved themselves worthy, and now they kind of want to prove it wasn't luck. They want to prove they can do it again, and they have the talented roster to do so, led by a great coach, Mike O'Shea. They're number 1 as far as the rankings, power rankings in the West. The Calgary Stampeders, I'd say, are kind of like the New England Patriots of the CFL. I mean, this is a team that just seems very well coached. They've always been good. They're very consistent. There's not really much turnaround with them. Of course, I'm talking about the Patriots from a few years ago when they had Tom, and not the Patriots now, but we'll see. But Calgary's, they've been very consistent. They're one of the teams that makes probably the least amount of changes and moves in the offseason. They've kept their roster besides just a few different pieces this year. The Edmonton Elks, I think I wanted to talk about them the most with you because they're a team I find the most interesting, and I've given them out to many people as Grey Cup future bets, and I'd hope your audience would take a look at them as well at 10-1 odds or 11-1 odds to win the Grey Cup. Now, the West is way more competitive than the East as far as at least the skill and talent goes. That's always been a thing for the CFL, and it hasn't really turned back towards the East in a little while. But the Edmonton Elks, they have a new head coach, Jamie Elizondo. But what's interesting about him is the familiarity he has with the quarterback and one of the receivers, Trevor Harris and Greg Ellingson. So Elizondo was the offensive coordinator for the Ottawa Red Blacks, the former team of both Trevor and Greg. So it's, the familiarity they have, the chemistry they already have is one of the things that's already made me love this team. Then you look at their schedule, their first 4 weeks of the season, I would say, Jeff, is a 4-0. And it's a great start. It's a good kind of cleanup. These guys don't get a preseason. So in my opinion, I wouldn't want to start off against any tough competition. I want to start off with an easy competition. You add in a motivated running back, James Wilder Jr., guys talented like Armani Edwards. It's a stacked receiving core, and they did pick up a few key pieces on defense. So they're a team that I think that I would bet team totals quite a bit with them this season, trying to even take away their defense out of the picture. Then looking at the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a team led by Cody Fajardo, a quarterback for them, but he's kind of taking the reins. He's running that team now. He's the leader of that team, and they're going to remember the famous play from 2019 what got them knocked out. As many people know in the CFL, comparison to American football, the field goal post is right in the middle of the field. It's just right there in the end zone, and you have to plan your routes accordingly. And he actually threw a ball at the upright, Jeff, and that's kind of how the game ended. Didn't get to his target, of course. Look, this is a team that all the quotes that I've read from the Regina Post, the local newspaper, which I recommend people do, don't read all these, national sports papers. Read the local stuff, and it sounds like all they've had is scrimmages so far, and the defense has just dominated the offense. Jeff, we have seen the offense almost struggle to get yardage against this defense, and what I've read from all kinds of different teams is that it seems like that's what it's been so far. Defenses are there, but offenses aren't there. And, that's always the big question after a huge layoff with no preseason. What's going to take longer to click in, offense or defense? Really sounds like the defense is clicking for them, but the offense isn't there. And then the BC Lions, we look at the Lions. This is a team led by Mike Riley, a quarterback that was one of my favorites for years. I think he's getting up there in age a little bit, but he still has plenty of talent. They have a great receiving core. They've made some moves defensively as well. But, I worry about their O-line. And with the injuries we've seen Mike Riley have in the past and even in training camp, I think both quarterbacks, actually, Fajardo and Mike Riley, could be running for their lives in tonight's game. So the offensive line question for both those teams, but defense should be pretty good for them. So that's the Western Conference. I think it'll be very competitive. The odds were kind of scratching my head worthy because I don't think one team is extraordinarily better than the others. And I think out the gate, even, we're going to see teams playing BC, and the point spreads are going to be far too big, especially with no preseason, not really a big training camp. These games are going to be a lot lower scoring than people think, and a lot closer than they might think.
So I already noted Edmonton a 10 or 11-1, duly noted, and thank you, sir, for that one. East, Hamilton, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, anything stand out there?
Well, I'd love to just be able to give you the favorite and just say take Hamilton. They came off the loss yesterday, of course, in their Grey Cup rematch, and their offense didn't look very good Thursday night. The offensive line, Jeremiah Masoli was running for his life, but we have to remember Masoli, that's his first game in a long, long, long time because he injured himself about halfway through the season in 2019. Dane Evans came in and took his place, so it's really his first game in longer than everybody else. But I still think they're the number one team, Jeff, in the East Division. And the way I kind of looked at it is, some people might say, why would you put a future at 3-1 odds, or plus 320 or whatever it might be? But the way I look at it is that if they win the East, they're going to be in the East Finals. They win the East, you and I are walking into the Grey Cup with a plus 300 money line ticket, on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. This team will be in the East Finals. I think they will advance to the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is at home in Hamilton this year. Obviously, they're kind of in revenge mode. And so I understand it's kind of a low price. Maybe people might want to wait until they can get a better number. But I'm not recommending any favorite betting in the West. But as far as the East goes, I'd recommend people try and get Hamilton early and just say, hey, look, I'm hoping I'm walking into the Grey Cup and having this team plus 300 instead of whatever the odds might be. Montreal, close second, I think, though. People are going to be a little bit shocked by them this year. I think they have a really great coach, Kahari Jones, led by Vernon Adams Jr. Behind center. And the biggest question with them is their defense. If you and I aren't talking and you're wondering what my play might be in a Montreal game, it's probably the over. This is going to be a team that's I'm going to be really looking towards overs actually early in the season. I mentioned unders with other teams, but this is a team that can put up points. They have talent on the receiving core, but they couldn't stop you and I on offense. So that's kind of what I'm looking for Montreal. Ottawa's in a full rebuild mode. The only thing veteran about them is their they got a new head coach and also their quarterback. So I worry about them. They're in complete rebuild mode. It'd be interesting to see what happens from them. And the Argos. The Argos are going to be like the most interesting story of the CFL this season, because they kind of pulled an NBA free agency and they went out and just picked up somebody here, grabbed a great pass rusher here. They pulled the LeBron James. And so we're going to have to see if it pays off for them. But from a point spread perspective, I'm kind of hoping they get their asses kicked for the first 3 weeks. And I start getting extremely good numbers with them week 4 and week 5, week 6. And, getting them almost plus 2 touchdowns or, plus 13 and then taking them the other way. But they'll struggle at the gate. But I think the second half of the season, we could see Toronto start to click because they do have the talent. But some people just think it's going to just instantly click right away. But when you pretty much have revamped your roster, it takes some time.
So last night, the CFL opener, Winnipeg 19-6 upset of Hamilton. Hamilton opened up at 3.5, closed 1.5 under over, opened at 51, closed at 49.5. So again, for someone like ourselves who are contrarian, try to fade the public, that's the perfect storm. A nice underdog and under that came in. How did you watch? Did you see? Were you on the right sides there? Is this what you expected?
So I had the right side on the total. I thought about that I was pretty much ready to fire on the total right when the odds came out. I figured that was going to be my play. And 51 is what I got. And I saw a few 52s early, but 51 is what I got, dropped all the way down to 49.5. And that game was a dead nut under from the second it started. I mean, we saw one great touchdown at the gate, then Winnipeg get 2, but teams struggled to get consistent drives. There were countless 2-and-outs, a lot of drop passes. Both teams' offensive lines weren't protecting their quarterbacks. I had Hamilton on the money line, actually. I looked at it that way. The way I kind of viewed it, and of course, now in hindsight, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I could have got plus 3.5 out the gate with the Grey Cup champs. And you live and you learn. But I looked at it the other way and said, look, this number is jumping way down. We're almost seeing Hamilton at a pick now. So once it got to like minus 1.5 or minus 2.5, I just took the money line and said, look, we're getting a team healthy, motivated, and with their starting quarterback back, ready to make a difference. So unfortunately, Winnipeg just dominated them. And I have to give credit, because an angle I usually use in betting is one that I kind of didn't use last night, was betting on the team with the star injuries. And the funny thing is, Hamilton actually had injuries as well on the offensive line, on the defensive end as well. But the 2 star injuries between both teams were on Winnipeg, with their star running back and their best wide receiver. and somebody else stepped up at running back, and other guys stepped up at receiver, and it clearly showed because Winnipeg didn't look like they had any problems. Did
All
you have
right.
any action, Jeff? Did you get involved?
I did not. I was actually watching, following. We had. It's funny. Have the big screen for most of the last week, 10 days. I've had the Olympics, so I've actually been able to watch with DirecTV. You can watch like 6 things at once. That last night was the NFL. Again, nothing that another snooze fest. The world was on Pittsburgh. The world was on the under, and Pittsburgh rolls Dallas. So I was kind of everywhere. We had played 2 baseball games earlier in the day and split. So we were wide open, and I was just a sponge. I was bouncing from here, and everywhere, trying to just, especially early in preseason and the start of seasons, as you said it perfectly, you live and learn. And you make some notes. Where was I right? Where was I wrong? You turn the page and you move on. And that takes us to tonight. BC, Saskatchewan. I got BC right now currently +4.5 and an under over of 46.5. Is that somewhere what you're looking at?
Yeah, we saw it. We saw again money coming in on the under, just like yesterday. I think I saw 47.5 out the gate. Well, that's what I immediately jumped on. But with I mentioned to you about some of these teams making it very evident and obvious about how the training camps have started. Well, Saskatchewan has been the epitome of that team. They, like I said, they have literally said that their defense has dominated their offense. The coach has come out and pretty much said, we know it'll take some time to get clicking. We're going to use this first game, obviously, to try and get the win and come out on top. But we're going to try and run some things that we might not have always run in week one. It just really sounds to me that although we got a great product, a hell of a lot of better product than we had last night in the NFL, that's for sure, we're going to see some scrimmage type plays. We're going to see some stuff we might not have usually seen in week one of CFL action. And I'm excited because, I have no problem betting unders. And, Joe Public hates betting unders, but that's why these numbers get put where they get put, at 51 last night and 47.5 here tonight, because people are going to bet that. But the sharp money came in, and I like the under. I like the under quite a bit. I think both offensive lines are going to be very weak. I think the pass rush is strong for both teams. And I just think both quarterbacks have potential. They're talented already. They've been well proven. Obviously, we have one younger quarterback and one more veteran quarterback. But I just think both of them aren't going to be able to make consistent drives, Jeff, if they are running for their lives. And as far as the point spread goes, I'm not laying more than a touchdown with any team in week one. That's in my bottom half of the rankings. Maybe a team in the top half against a weaker opponent, but not two teams like Saskatchewan and BC that I think are a lot closer than the odds makers believe. I saw a few CFL power rankings the other day where some people had Saskatchewan number 2 in the league, and that's really far fetched. So if I'm playing, I'm taking 7.5 with BC.
All right, so we'll move to Saturday. First game I see Toronto at Calgary. We have Toronto +5 and an under over of 48.5. That's the numbers that I'm seeing. Again, you may see other different numbers. Use the numbers that you're using. I jumped onto your Wager Talk. I saw tonight's. I didn't see any of the weekend action, so I kind of queued up the CFL, and we got some news feeds and some numbers that I'm seeing, and I don't know where those numbers are actually coming from.
Oh, you don't know where because I actually haven't seen those yet. So that's actually exciting for me hearing it. What were the numbers for tomorrow's? Do you have Ottawa? Do you have Ottawa Edmonton as well?
Yes, I do. I have for tomorrow as well. I have Ottawa +5 and an under over of 47 and a hook.
Okay. Well, I'll be completely honest. As far as the total goes, I think that we could get 3. We could see that under go 3-1 this week.
Okay.
The only potential game that I think could go over is Ottawa Edmonton. because I think Ottawa's a hot mess. They're a rebuilding team, but they're going to take some shots downfield. They're going to have some fun out there. The quotes have been they want to have a winning mentality. They want to take care of the football. They got a new head coach from Winnipeg that knows how to win. So I think that they're going to be a team that makes progress, but I don't think it's going to happen right away. Like I said, the only thing leadership-wise about this team is their quarterback, and unfortunately, he can't also catch the balls for you and run them to the end zone. He can't do it all. So Edmonton, like I said, when you look at them, they're stacked up. That should be a good one. And Toronto and Calgary, like I said, Toronto, this is just my assessment from week one. And it might be way different when you and I talk throughout the weeks. Right now, people are going to think they're better than they are because of the talent, the roster that they have. So I'm not buying in, just like I don't with the NHL when we see free agency moves. I'm not buying in that, this team is what it's set out to be right away. Will it be that good in 4 weeks from now? Maybe. But as for right now, in week one, taking on a Calgary Stampeders team with plenty of experience and consistency throughout the years, I can't look at Toronto in this spot. But the improvements they have made, though, Jeff, the most promising ones have been on defense. So that's why I'd look towards potentially an under in that game as well. What was the total you said for Calgary?
For Calgary, opened at 48.5.
48.5. Yeah, see, I'd look towards the under as well because I feel like that could get some movement downwards because the best part about Toronto's moves in the offseason have been on defense, not as much offensively. So we'll see if that's the case. And Calgary, they've kind of changed their schemes throughout the past 2 years. I've seen they're not going downfield as much. They're playing almost like a slow-paced game of football, and it's helped them control games a lot better.
All right, so what I want to do here, Andrew, basically is this. We're at the 25-minute mark. We're going to try weekly to get some basically some breakdowns of the week past, get the bettors and wagerers up to speed on what's coming up for each weekend. Your insight, your knowledge is second to none when it comes to this. Basically, the stage is yours here right now. I want you to tell the viewers and listeners, which there are a lot of right now, where they can find you, where they can reach out to you, and some of the packages and some of the information that you are offering to everyone.
Well, there's a full CFL season package available at Wager Talk, but you can also grab just 3-day packages, and I always recommend those on Fridays heading into the weekend. I bet on the UFC every single event, most events anyway. So with the UFC, MLB, and CFL, it's going to be a great weekend. And I'm always a fan of recommending people buying packages longer term, at least 3 to 7 days versus just 1 day and one small sample size. But as far as content goes, at wagertalk.com, WagerTalk TV, I've done not just 1, but 2 and 3 CFL betting videos. So if you're not looking to buy any picks, that's fine. Do me a favor and check out my CFL videos. I did one video, Jeff, that I think some of your viewers might be interested in. It was the rule differences from American football to Canadian football. And there were actually 1 or 2 that I mentioned in there that I wasn't even aware of. So it was actually a very fun video to film, and I hope people can check it out.
Absolutely. And looking forward to the season here with you. I'll be 100% honest with you. I go way back in the day, and I'm going to say Calgary and Doug Flutie. Is that correct?
Right.
And I remember the Warren Moon days. That's how old I am. I'm sorry to date myself. But it's always been there, and I'm able to catch a handful of games on TV, streaming, or however it is. And this time of year, Andrew, it's a perfect lead-in. Yes, I know the NFL is back, and people are chomping at the bit to bet preseason. Why? I don't know. I know some people think there's sharp ways because you got information that, the Tom Brady's going to play the first half.
Right.
You got information that the number 2 and number 3 are going to play the whole game. I get that stuff. But the market is even in preseason. They're caught up to that. I mean, last night in the NFL, Pittsburgh opened up at 1. It closed at 2.5. Again, the steam was just all Pittsburgh.
That was my play, Pittsburgh. That's
exactly. So here we have actual live games. We have regular season games, something that with some meaning.
Yeah.
And I know in today's world, Andrew, they all cash the same. I don't care
yes,
what
sir.
it is.
Yes, sir. I wish everybody thought like you. I wish everybody would think like you, because I love the NFL. Don't get me wrong. Just like every single sports bettor and sports fan love the NFL. But if you want to tell me that you just don't like the CFL because of the sake that it's not American football, then I got a problem, because everybody says that, but yet they'll line up to watch a 17-3 game on a Thursday night and be happy with a primetime NFL game, and they won't watch a 27-24 CFL football game on a Friday night, which has a huge field. They have pass-heavy offenses. I love the NFL, but I'm really excited to be talking CFL with you throughout the week. So thanks a lot for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll close with this: is the NFL. Andrew, I always say this. There's 3 things about the NFL. Everyone has a favorite team. Everyone knows everything, when honestly everyone knows nothing. And the Sunday, I call it quicksand Sunday, because every Sunday, for the most part, there's 17, 18 weeks. So we'll say 14 of the 18 weeks, there's a new phone call with someone else building or wants plans to build a new billion-dollar casino and resort based upon, the NFL Sundays. And it is comical. And I especially, you said something that is so true when you were talking about your packages. One day doesn't make a service. 1 week doesn't make a service. Even 1 month doesn't make a service. It's the long term. It's the marathon approach. I know, everyone at Wager Talk knows it's a marathon. It's a grind. It's a day to day. And we're off of a 31-15 run in MLB right now. But and I know it's called regression.
Sure.
So when you get the 4-6 and the 4-7 weeks because of an error, a walk-off homer, anything like that, and then someone that jumps into that brand new thinks that you're a bum or a schlep, they weren't there for the 31-15 run. So customer service, being able to communicate to your customers, your clients, is a real big thing. And listen, anytime I've reached out to you, you've been back like this. You're always there. You're answering questions. And that's what it's all about. And that's what creates trust. And I always like to say, trust isn't free. It's earned. Yes. And it's a two-way street. You need it from both sides.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it's all about networking. I think if people can't, I'd love to have you on my podcast someday, and we could chat about your journey through the sports betting industry. I think networking is the biggest key that some people in this industry don't want to do, because they want to stick to their own kind of corner and advertise themselves. But here we are working together, and I'm just happy to have you into some CFL and give you some CFL picks. And tomorrow, if we get some spreads widely available for that Edmonton game, I'll be making sure to DM you my favorite play.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Again, reach out to Andrew at McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, at Sports Mayflower, all on Twitter. Myself, Jeff Dawson, at EC Sports Invest on Twitter. Send us a DM, retweet, whatever it is. We're here to answer any questions. Our goal here is to be on here weekly to give you some insight, hopefully cash you some CFL tickets. Yes, I said CFL, not NFL. And we'll be here for the journey all the way from the Grey Cup. So anyone wagering today, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's help there. There's people there ready to help. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend, have a blessed day, and let's cash some tickets.